Hey guys, April here from the Gumboot garden. Today we're harvesting our summer potatoes. So last year I had an excellent summer potato harvest and I'm hoping that this year will be just as good. So let's get in there and see exactly what our harvest is going to look like. This past winter when I was digging my potatoes, I found a massive spider crawl out of the containers. So I was using a plastic old composting container to grow my potatoes in, and a huge spider came running out from in between the pieces of the container. So that's why I've decided we're not going to do the plastic container anymore. We're going to use the cardboard boxes. However, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't still a little bit nervous that one of those big spiders is gonna run out at me. Let's hope not though. I suspect we'll be able to get to the potatoes a lot quicker than we typically do. Oh yeah, like that. Super easy, look at that. I've planted my potatoes this year exactly the same way that I planted last year's summer potatoes. I planted them in these huge cardboard boxes from the local garden center, spaced them 6 to 12 inches apart, and they're all potatoes that originally came from the grocery store. Some of them were organic, others were not organic. It's just a bit of a mix of whatever we had left in the cupboard. Now these are a couple generations from the store at this point because I just take whatever potatoes that we have left in our cupboard and chuck them into the ground for the next season. So I'm able to plant my potatoes in both summer and winter months here, but I do find that my summer potatoes give me a bit of a better harvest. There is one difference that I did this year that I haven't done in the past, and that is mound up my potatoes. And there's a reason for this. In this past winter, when I planted my potatoes, I realized I was mounding them up, but the actual potatoes weren't growing off of the stems as they grew. So really all of my potatoes were just down at the bottom bit of the soil. So I thought, well, let's just try it without mounding it up and see what the difference is in our production level. So these potatoes were planted 4 to 6 inches above the bottom of the box, and then I covered them with a couple more inches of soil right when I was planting them. However, they have not received any additional soil since that point. And we're just gonna get some of this dirt out of here. As I put it in, I'm just checking to make sure there aren't any small potatoes in there. And as I'm putting my shovel into here, into the ground, I want to make sure I'm not slicing into any potatoes. So that one's a bit rotten. That appears to be it for the first box, which I'm quite happy with. There are a lot. So I'll be interested to see at the end of harvesting the second box whether the weight of the amount of potatoes we have is higher or not than what we harvested last year. Last year I think we harvested 16, I can't remember if it was 16 pounds, I believe it was. I'll confirm that later. We'll double check. And what's left of these cardboard boxes, I'm just tossing at the back of my garden to help suppress some of the weeds that come crawling out of the bush sometimes. And hopefully in the near future, that will also become my new composting area. Well, as I lifted the second box up, I already saw some potatoes fall out, so that's good. The potatoes grew nice green stalks and leaves this year. However, they weren't as bushy as last year's summer potatoes, and they didn't flower like last year's season did. So last year we had tons and tons of potato flowers on our stalks. This year I think I had one stalk that flowered, so it might show you a little bit of a difference in the production level already, just knowing that they didn't get through that whole season of growing, bushy, flowering, and then dying off. They died off before they got to that flowering stage. All right, guys, this is this year's potato harvest. So it looks just as good as last year. So I'm really excited to get this on the scale and see how much it weighs. Because even though these potatoes seem to be smaller than last year's potatoes, there definitely are more of them. So let's go inside and get these on the scale and weigh them. The potatoes have gone onto the scale, and although we didn't beat last year's numbers, we came pretty darn close. So last year I harvested 14.5 pounds, or about 6.5 kilos of potatoes. They were definitely larger. There was definitely a lot less of them. But this year we didn't quite hit that number. We have about 12.9 pounds of potatoes and 5.6 or 7 kilos. This is a great number of potatoes. So I said it last year and I'm gonna say it again. Don't throw away those store-bought potatoes. Stick them in some soil and grow more. Because I definitely didn't start with very many potatoes, maybe a dozen smaller ones, and we ended up with many dozen potatoes that are probably about the same size as when I planted them. So, you know, small potatoes like this can turn into lots of small potatoes, but definitely edible potatoes. So if you haven't yet grow your own potatoes, you don't need to grow them in ground, frankly, unless you have a huge field or a large growing space. I would suggest just putting them into some containers. I did not buy grow bags to plant my potatoes. I walked into the garden store and picked up a few free cardboard boxes to plant my potatoes in. You can do the same thing. All you need to do is have a little bit of soil to put them into. I did not fertilize them. I did not mound them up. I literally put them in a box, watered them whenever I watered the rest of my garden, and let them sit. And this is what I ended up with. So give it a go, guys. I will catch you in the next video. And in the meantime, good luck planting your garden and get some potatoes in the ground. See ya.